Hey now everyone, Matt Haywood from EntertainmentBuddha.com, and we are back with another one of our Star Wars-centric Buddha-casts. Of course, I'm joined by my Star Wars fanboy in crime, Nick Caminita. How's it going, Nick?
Good, man, good. Still waiting on some sweet Rogue One news, but we got some stuff to fill the time until then.
Yeah, so as Nick kind of hinted there, if you're a Star Wars fan like us, then you probably heard this week that we're going to get an extended 3-minute trailer for Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, next Friday, apparently on ABC, because they're going to be running the documentary that came with Star Wars: The Force Awakens on its Blu-ray or digital copy version of it. So we should be getting a new trailer for Rogue One, so obviously we'll be dissecting that and talking about it on the next Star Wars cast. But for now, since this is our regularly scheduled time slot, we figured, hey, why not talk about Star Wars? Because Nick and I, we can always talk about that galaxy that is so far, far away. So we decided, you know what? We just had the release of Lego Star Wars: The Force Awakens this week for multiple game platforms. So we're like, hey, why not? Let's talk about some of our favorite Star Wars games from gaming past or modern Star Wars games. So that's what we're going to talk about. The good ones, the bad ones, if there are any. I've kind of struggled myself to find some bad ones, but I've just remembered a few. And then we'll touch on some of the stuff that popped up this week on socials from Star Wars Episode 8. So that is what we've got for you on today's Star Wars cast. Okay, Nick, so Star Wars games. I'm assuming you became a fan through the movies. You're probably a gamer just because you grew up in that era when gaming and consoles in the house was becoming a staple. So did you have a passion for Star Wars through the movies or games first?
It definitely came through the movies first for me, just because, I mean, yeah, I was a gamer when I was a kid. I remember having my, Nintendo Entertainment System when I was a small child playing Mario Brothers with my dad. But my passion for Star Wars definitely came through the movies first and then the games later. It actually, it was weird because it didn't occur to me until, a few years later that I was like, holy shit, there's, Star Wars video games out there. So
well, I mean, yeah, because, there's an age difference between Nick and I. I'm born in 80. Nick, God knows, he might be from the 90s for all I know.
88.
Okay, so he's still in the good decade, but, 8 years difference there. So there's a slight generation gap. So, yeah, that is kind of neat to think you didn't even know there was games. I mean, I can remember going when there were still arcades and my dad playing the arcade cabinet Star Wars game and me getting in there, the Atari one. And then eventually there was ones for Nintendo and Super Nintendo, so on and so forth. So, yeah, that's fun. Yes, there are games for Star Wars. And as I kind of prefaced earlier, most of them are pretty damn good. So we're going to go through and kind of give our personal top 3 or 5. I was looking at the list and going, whittling it down to 3 is going to be tough. We don't have a ton of time, so we'll try to blow through these. So, Nick, let's just get right to it, man. What is do you want to start at number 1 or do kind of a countdown?
I mean, I guess we can do a countdown because
right.
we could have the number 1 big reveal.
So let's just start with your a favorite but not a top favorite.
Okay, so if we're gonna go, I guess we'll try to do 5. And if I'm gonna do 5, my number 5 is actually it might surprise some people, but it's gonna be Star Wars: The Old Republic, the online game, the MMO that came out in 2011,
Okay.
I believe. And I'll give a small reasoning behind it. It's I know a lot of people hated that game because you have MMO crazies out there who switch from WoW and play a different game, and they can never compare anything to World of Warcraft. But I was never a huge MMO gamer, and I literally only played that game because it's Star Wars. I was like, this is a fucking Star Wars MMO, Sith versus Jedi craziness, and the story aspect of it I actually enjoyed a lot because I've had played a couple of MMOs like Guild Wars and stuff like that prior to it, and there was never really a story aspect to them as much as there is with the Star Wars MMO. So I really enjoyed it, and I actually, resub to that game at least once a year to just kind of play through the new content, get all the cool new lightsabers and shit, because they have some pretty cool gear in there, and just generally have a good time. Like, I actually just wrapped up my most recent year's, I guess you would say resub. Got up to the max level with 8 characters, did some progression rating, and had a really good time with it.
And they've seemingly have kept it updated. I know there's kind of a new, I wouldn't call it a full-on expansion, maybe you know better, but they kind of been releasing it in chunks in 2016. So it's always good in those types of games when the developer actually keeps them alive, and it is BioWare, so makes sense. All right, so I guess we'll say the 5th, and this one's going to come as a surprise, and I'll probably get torn apart because it is universally panned as one of the worst Star Wars games of all time. But when it came into my life, it was just a point in time. I was transitioning into college and living on my own, and my friends and I just had a blast playing it for some reason. Maybe we were drunk, stoned, who knows what. But I'm talking about Star Wars Masters of the Terras Kasi. One of the most jacked up Star Wars games out. It's literally a Star Wars fighting game, kind of like Mortal Kombat, more like a Tekken, where you kind of have that. I think it was a 3D battle plane, or maybe just 2D. But I fucking love that game, dude. I don't know. Did you ever play it? I'm sure you heard it as being one of the worst games ever.
Yeah, I can remember reading lists and it being on there, but I've never played it. Dude,
I mean, you could be Luke and take on Mara Jade in a lightsaber battle, or Han Solo versus Boba Fett in fisticuffs with guns. We just dug it. Like I said, it was. I think it was a product of the time, my age, growing up, living on my own with other roommates in the house, staying up late. We just had a blast playing round robin tournaments with that, winner stays, loser pays type of deal. So yeah, Star Wars Masters of the Terras Kasi, or however the fuck you say it, definitely dig it. I would play it today if I could find my copy, because I still have one of the PS3s that can play all versions of PlayStation games. So yes, that is my number 5. So what's next, Nick? What's next on your list?
Number 4 for me is like similar to the story you told with Masters of the Terras Kasi. Is like, it's kind of in that transition period. I think it came out like either my senior year in high school or like right as I was transitioning into college, and it was the Lego Star Wars, the prequel trilogy, episodes 1 through 3. And I played that a lot with my friends because it was co-op, it was local co-op, and it was getting into that era where local co-op games weren't coming out as much anymore.
Right.
But it was still like, that was one of the few games where you could sit down with your buddies on a couch and play together. And it was Star Wars, and it was Lego. That was actually my first Lego game that I ever played, and I really enjoyed it. It was kind of campy, because it's the prequels and it's Lego, but it was pretty awesome. I mean, you still got to play through the story of the prequel trilogy. You got to get a little extra information here and there too, and I had a really good time with it, fighting Lego General.
Well, that's actually,
Grievous
Lego Star Wars was the first property to be turned into a game in Lego form. So the original Lego Star Wars, and then the one you're talking about, but it's the franchise that TT Games kind of entered into the whole Lego as gaming genre that has now, we get at least 1 or 2 Lego games a year. So I feel you on that, dude. They're still fun. I just played Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens and absolutely loved it. I wish I had someone to play local co-op, or if it supported online multiplayer. So big fan of Lego games, even though they are essentially brain dead, and I still think my cat could play through one if I could tape a controller to his paws. Okay, so for me, it just gets so fucking tough, dude. So many games. I'm gonna dig deep. I'll change things up here a little bit. Non-traditional. The Star Wars Trilogy arcade machine. Now,
Dude,
this is right. This is the one where you sit in and you play through 3 missions that involve a flying component and then some sort of, you hold the joystick and it's typically a lightsaber battle or something like that against Boba Fett, Vader. I don't know how many quarters I pumped into that machine, and to this day, if I could find one at a reasonable price, I would buy the motherfucker and put it in my basement. I'd chop up one of my couches to make room for it. I love that game. I mean, it's one of the best arcade games out there, one of the best Star Wars games out there, in my opinion.
It
I don't know
definitely
if you ever
is.
played that one, Nick. I mean,
I have.
it's hard to find
actually.
them these days because arcades are slowly dying. But that was one hell of an arcade cabinet.
It's funny because like the first time I played it, I remember I was actually in Disney World, and this had to be. I mean, it's 2016 now. Like it had to be almost 10 years ago, and they have like depending on the hotel you stay in when you go to Disney, because like when my family would go.
Oh
we
yeah,
would
yeah.
stay
They have
on
those little
grounds.
mini arcades.
Yeah, we had the arcades in there, and they had that there, and I played the shit out of it. And I can remember, like you said, you had the lightsaber battle against Vader. You had the trench run on the Death Star. Like they had some really cool missions in that game, and I really enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah, it
it's
was
definitely good.
it was. I mean, something if you got good enough, you could beat it on a quarter because you essentially had a flying mission and some sort of scripted boss fight for each of the main original films. So you start A New Hope, then you'd have a Hoth mission, and then the Jedi stuff. So fantastic arcade game, people. If you ever find an arcade and you see one of those, dump a few quarters into it. You won't be disappointed.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
What do you got next, dude, for your number 3?
Number 3, people might give me shit about my number 3 and 2 picks because they could flip them in their head, but I'm gonna go with number 3 being Knights of the Old Republic, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh, that
number
high,
1.
man! I thought you were gonna save that for number 1. But.
The first one. My number 1 might be like a little surprise to people.
Well,
but,
good.
like,
I'm excited. Now we have something to look forward to.
Yeah, I'm gonna put number 1 at 3. So Knights of the Old Republic 1 at 3 because I can remember playing that game, and it was just such an incredible experience for me because I can remember playing that game. Literally, one of my friends came over, had it on PS2, and like he spent the night, and we played it just straight through. We played it for like 10 hours straight, and it was incredible because it was like you have that system that BioWare set up where you can you have your dark and your light meter, and in that game you don't know who you are, and then you have the reveal that you are Darth Revan. I believe that's the first one, right? Because
I mean the first one you don't even really find out until almost the end. It was a huge moment in the story. It's like, oh fuck, now it makes sense why this guy doesn't really know what the fuck he is, and he has the strong in the Force, and Malik kind of recognizes him. Yeah, it was brilliant. I mean, that game, well, as you said, to this day, to me, it's probably one of the best overall non-movie Star Wars game. This is one where you forged your own story in the Star Wars universe, and I think that's why it was so special to a lot of us gamers.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what actually, like, that game is what attracted me. Well, that series of games is what attracted me to the Star Wars MMO because it was made by the same development company, BioWare, and it was set in the same time period. So I knew that eventually they were going to have, parts about Darth Revan in there, and they did, and it was incredible. If you've never played the Star Wars MMO, they have, well, one of the most recent expansions was the Shadow of Revan, which was just a great story about, Revan Reborn kind of coming to bring destruction to the galaxy, and then even prior to that, they had like a mission in there where you fight against Darth Revan. It's incredible gameplay in Knights of the Old Republic 1, incredible storytelling. I mean, just overall, that game was just incredible, and I love it.
I mean, there's great characters. I'm just thinking now, I'm like, you know what? I want a fucking Darth Revan and a Darth Malik Funko Pop. There.
That would be awesome,
I said it.
dude.
Now make one for me, Funko, you motherfuckers. I'm going broke over your shit. Okay. Yes, I'll give you that. I mean, dude, that game's fantastic. It may be my number 1. It may not. I may leave it off now that we've talked about it, but definitely one of the best overall Star Wars experiences out there. All right, so my number 3, and this one is, again, it may be a product of the time when I was playing it. This is through college. Worked at GNC, managed it. If you ever worked at a GNC, you'll know how boring it is. I mean, a good day, you might get 10 people in 10 or 11 hours. So you had a lot of downtime. So what I would do, I'd bring my laptop, play some games, do some college work on it. But the one game I literally played hundreds of hours worth, Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds, which is a real-time strategy game kind of molded after the original StarCraft, StarCraft 2 type of mix. It was fantastic. Fantastics, whatever, Matt. Anyways, it had the original Galactic Battlegrounds, and then there was a Clone Campaigns expansion that came after. And it was just, to me, it embodies everything that I love about a real-time strategy game. And it was old school still. I mean, you had to start essentially from scratch, harvesting resources, build out your bases, build out your armories, build up your force. If you're good enough with hotkeys, you can maybe send a rush over and win the match real quick. Or if you just wanted to build up hordes and battalions of AT-ATs and whatnot. I fucking love the game. It kills me that it hasn't been ported to Steam, or you can't really install it on some of these new Windows computers, because I would probably still play it to this day. It was just, Nick, have you ever seen it? Have you ever tried? I mean, you like RTS games or no?
I play RTS every now and then. It's definitely probably, I would say, my least favorite genre in gaming, but I haven't even seen it played. So I'll have to look up videos on it.
I mean, it's from 2001, so it's probably gonna look a little dated, but it was fantastic. And then Empire at War came out a little bit after, and is a little more. I think you can get that one on Steam now. A little more less cartoony, I would say, than Battlegrounds. A little more hardcore RTS. Both great, but Battlegrounds to me, I played so much of it. It was ridiculous. LAN playing, online multiplayer. Back in 2001, that was still relatively new, which probably is why I played so much of it.
Yeah, because I played a shitload of Empire at War, and I remember buying it probably 3-4 years ago on Steam, because Steam always does the annual Star Wars
I guarantee
sale.
You and I bought the same Star Wars sale then, because I have it too. I think it was $79 for something like 20, 25, 30 Star Wars games.
Yeah,
and pretty much any Star Wars game that you can install on a computer, they were selling in a bundle. So yes, I do have that one. But Battlegrounds, unfortunately, I don't know if you can get it through Steam. I don't know if it's on GOG. I don't even know if I could install it, but it was a gem.
You might have to go to the dark web to find that. You might have to try to find it on torrent sites or something.
And then fucking hack up a parallels of Windows 95 or 98 on my machine to get it to work or whatever. So That's my number 3. What is your number 2?
My number 2 is going to be Star Wars Battlefront 2 on PlayStation 2.
Motherfucker.
I played, and a lot of people would say, how do you have Battlefront 2 in front of Knights of the Old Republic? And I'll tell you why. Because that was another game where I wasted away my life playing that game. And I would have friends come over and we would play local co-op. I loved every part of that game. Even the space flight missions. Oh my god, I could play those. If that game re-released and it was just the space missions, I would still buy it. I loved it. And then the Conquest style story mode that they had, where you had planetary control. And you have they had both time periods too, because you could play as Rebels versus the Empire, or you could play as the prequel time, where you had the GIS versus the Republic, and it was incredibly well done. I loved every aspect of it. And then if you played on Alderaan, I think it was, I don't remember the name of the map. I know it wasn't Mos Eisley, but it was not Alderaan. It was on Tatooine, and you could do heroes versus villains. And holy shit, I played so much of that, dude. If I was playing on heroes, I would play as Ayala Secura, because she was the only person that had dual lightsabers, and I would just cut up the villains. And then if I was playing on villains, I'd always play as Darth Maul, because he had the double bladed, he had the dual sided lightsaber. I love that game, man. Dude,
I was gonna say, don't feel bad about putting that high up in your list, because I was gonna put it up there too, but now that you took it, I'm gonna bring up another game, because there really are so many. I'm looking at this list on Wikipedia. I'm just like, Christ, how do we limit this at just 5? It's not doing the franchise and its games justice. But I'm with you, dude, because when Battlefront came out in 2004, and then the sequel was out a year after, and that was when I had to move down to Texas to become a big boy and work my corporate career. And I was the same way. I mean, I would play those games every night, nonstop, a lot of times just against the fucking computer, and it was still a satisfying gaming experience. Battlefront 2 went a little more online, but like you said, being able to take off and go into space, fucking roll right into a hangar, take over the ship. It was a brilliant game. It's a game that everyone's kind of pointing to with the new Battlefront, going, we were doing that back in fucking 2005. Now we get this beautiful version of the game, but there's no fucking air to space battles. There's no real campaign. I guess they're going to release a campaign now, a kind of single player only. But those two, Battlefront 2, amazing games. And like Nick said, Battlefront 2 definitely improved upon the original, so I agree it is the best of the two. It's really the best of the three at this point.
It really is. I was disappointed in the new Battlefront because of my love for Battlefront 2. That game had so much depth to it, even if not in like a narrative sense, but just so many things you can do. And while the new game looks incredible, like you said, I mean, like visually it is stunning. It does not have that depth.
Dude, like I said, I used to play against a computer and be completely satisfied.
Yep.
Completely. Because, you know, there was vehicles on the ground. You didn't have to pick up gems and hope to get one and fight people for them. Whatever. I'm not here to shit on the new Battlefront, but Battlefront 2, that's the model. That's, I think, the game everyone wanted DICE to make. But, hey, they made what they made, and I'm sure it sold well because it's Star Wars, so you know what I mean. All right, my number 2. I guess maybe I'll just keep shitting the nostalgic arena because you're hitting some of the new ones. And a lot of these I agree with Nick. I mean, they're definitely my top 10. And I am cheating. When he brings them up, I kind of remove them so we can talk about something new. So, yes, KOTOR or SWOKOTOR is in my list, without a doubt. Battlefront 2 definitely would be in my list. So, one I'm going to go to, and it's another classic. I doubt Nick probably got into these, depending on age, but the X-Wing and TIE Fighter flying sims.
Okay, yeah.
From the early 90s. To this day, probably, I think a lot of people would agree with me, probably the purest, best Star Wars piloting experience out there. Flight simulator, period. I mean, it is the best flight simulator I've played. Yeah, I remember buying a joystick for my family's shitty old Windows 95 computer to play it, and it was great. I don't know if it stands up today. It might. I mean, the graphics don't, but I think the gameplay would. But that's one of the games that really, for the first time, I felt like I was, Luke in the cockpit of an X-Wing, being, tailing TIE fighters or being sent to protect rebel transports. Just fun flying or flight simulation games if you're into that genre. I haven't played a flying simulator since because I knew it would not match what we got in the X-Wing and TIE Fighter series.
Yeah, once you get behind the the sticks of an X-Wing, getting in just like a regular fighter is never going to be the same. So it's just not comparable.
They're just fun. I mean, like I said, they're old as shit. Some people probably never have heard of them, but those of you in my generation, I guarantee if you're a Star Wars fan or even a gamer back then, because didn't have that many game experiences or platforms to choose from, not like we did today. So yeah, it was definitely a staple amongst a lot of us 30-plus gamers, those of us in our 30s on our ways to 40s. Fuck.
I can remember playing it, but I wasn't playing it like back in the day when it released. I can remember playing it after, and I don't remember if it was on like emulators or because I think that one of them, or it might have been both TIE Fighter and X-Wing that released through Nintendo's Virtual Console at some point. I'm not 100% sure. Or it might have been like re-released on GameCube. I can remember playing it like in the maybe like the early to mid 2000s on some Nintendo console, but I don't remember exactly how.
I mean, I know it's on. You can get it on GOG, the platform.
Okay.
I don't know if it ever made it to consoles, but it's a classic to look into. So now I'm sitting here thinking, well, what the fuck am I going to pick for one? So I think let's let Nick go ahead and drop his number one bomb on our faces.
My one is kind of weird because I don't think that many people, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have played it, but I don't know if many people would put it even in their top 5. And mine is Star Wars Jedi Knight Jedi Academy.
God damn it, Nick. You motherfucker. Great minds think alike then, I guess, dude, because that's exactly what I was eyeing for my one. I was going to do Outcast or Academy. I was going to do the whole goddamn Jedi Knight series starting from fucking Dark Forces where they first introduced Kyle Katarn. So go ahead. I won't steal your thunder.
Jedi Academy was honestly the first Star Wars game that I was like, I have to get this. Because up until that point, like, there were really good Star Wars games out there, but like the amount of control that you had over the lightsabers, the battle style, the ability to choose like kind of your path and like how you build your character, the ability to even choose which lightsabers you ended up using. You could use a single lightsaber, you could use double lightsabers, you could use a lightsaber staff. There were a lot of things in there, and it was also like it put you in that period of time to where it was post episode 6. So like you were fighting against dark forces, you were fighting against, you know, the new kind of
there
Sith
moments
Empire.
where you would actually go visit Luke at the temple.
Yeah, you would talk to Luke. He was kind of like your guide, and he would tell you, like, if you're making a lot of dark force decisions, he's like, you're straying down a path that's dangerous and stuff like that. I mean, obviously, it didn't have the depth of story choices like we have now in games, like with the BioWare games. But it,
Oh,
it,
shit. I mean, this is an 03 title. I mean,
it was way back in the day. But it's still like the fact that you could choose to play it light or dark, have all of the lightsaber choices, the story that you were playing through, them trying to resurrect Mark Aragnos back on Korriban, which is like the Sith home planet, the Sith Empire home planet. I mean, it was an excellent, excellent title in every aspect. The story was great. The combat was great. I mean,
do you remember the multiplayer?
Yeah, it was like it was like
nuts because it was still way back when Xbox Live I think first fired up, and people really didn't get it yet. And I remember just going in and there'd be people doing organized dances with Jedis, or you just go in and fucking smack each other around with lightsabers. It's wild. I mean, that game, as Nick said, it was great across the board. Who knows if it holds up today? I'm actually looking at Steam because I believe I have it.
I think I do.
I think it was part of that fucking bundle. Yeah, I mean, pretty much the whole Jedi Knight franchise. Yeah, Jedi Knight 2. That's not all of them, but the good ones in there. Jedi Knight 2 and Jedi Knight. And then both of the Knights of the Old Republic are in there. So, yeah, I mean, that's fantastic choice, dude. You definitely stole my thunder, but it was a very smart decision because, as you said, great game, great characters, great story. It was innovative for the time for a Star Wars game, third-person Star Wars game. And really, the character Kyle Katarn, he's become a byproduct of the Disney sale at this point. These games no longer have any value in the new Star Wars universe. Their canon has been jettisoned into the deep reaches of space, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because he was a cool character, and I like what he was doing with Luke and this, that, and the other thing. So.
Yeah, see, I was torn between like Jedi Outcast, because that's the Kyle Katarn game, and then Academy, because Academy is the one where you're just a student. Like, you come in as a student, and you're the first student. You're the first person who ever built a lightsaber without Jedi training. So you show up to the Academy with a lightsaber already built, and you find out that your name is Jaden Core and all this other stuff. Like, you find out a lot about your character, but then like you said, with the rest of the Jedi Knight. Or the Jedi Knight franchise, you have Jedi Outcast, which is Kyle Katarn, and you have the other ones who are also focused on him as well. I mean, like that whole, like you said, that whole franchise is incredibly well done.
Yeah, it was good stuff. All right, so here's going to be my bomb. I'm going to bring it a little bit back into modern times. And this is another one that has unfortunately become much less relevant due to the Disney sale, and this is Star Wars The Force Unleashed, the original. The sequel was a piece of fucking shit. All right, I'll be the first one to tell you that. They shit on all the good graces that the original installed. Really kind of put a black eye on the franchise, and probably why another game will never be made. So that's my dissertation on the sequel now to the original. Came out in 2008. Why I love this game, it really was the first game that I believe embodied what the Force could be as far as how far a player could take it, especially a dark side player. Because remember, you start the mission, the very first mission, you play as Darth Vader, and you get to see what his powers are. I mean, we're talking bringing down bridges with one finger, fucking wiping out villages by himself, battalions by himself. And then once you become Star Killer, you also get to see his powers, and he's also a badass and can wield the Force like a motherfucker. I mean, hell, I think one of the boss battles, he stops a goddamn Star Destroyer from crashing into him with the Force.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
yes, the Force is strong, and it was definitely unleashed in this series, which was kind of the crux of the whole thing. Plus, I really thought the story they wove into the original game around Star Killer was fantastic. I mean, the fact that it kind of played into the stuff you and I mentioned before, where Darth was always trying to undermine the Emperor, and the Emperor was always trying to undermine Darth. So Darth takes on the Star Killer as an apprentice. Fucking has him killed essentially, and then he shows up with the rebels. And he starts working with Princess Leia and some of Mon Mothma and whatnot. Kind of becomes the good guy, and then he essentially sacrifices himself at the end. Well, sorry about spoiler alert. But then, the sequel came out and kind of shit all over what happened in the first one. Just said, oh, yeah, we cloned like a million of these things, and here he is again. It just sucked. But I love the gameplay. I love the story, the different worlds. I like the character. I thought it was a challenging game, especially if you played it on hard. What was that one fucking boss? That little blue motherfucker was a pain in the ass.
I think I don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he wasn't one of the last bosses. He's really one of the original. I mean, really, Vader and Palpatine were easier than that cocksucker.
Yeah.
But it was a fun fucking fighting, brawling, Force Unleashed game.
The reason I love that game is because it reminded me so much of Jedi Academy in the freedom that you had.
Right, you got back to that third-person presentation and fucking shit up.
Dude, and it's just like you said, this is the first game that let you control the Force with just unlimited ability. Like, the amount of power that you had and the amount of manipulation that you could do to your entire environment almost was impressive. Like, I can remember in that game, like, picking up stormtroopers with the Force and just throwing them.
Oh, yeah, and you could do multiple if you would buff up that power. I mean, you could throw 3 or 4 at once to see ya.
And then, like, even the hidden things within that game, like the new lightsaber crystals you could find, the new...
Well, I was actually going to bring that up. You basically saw Kylo Ren's lightsaber in that game. I mean, you could use a Force crystal that was unstable, and you'd get that kind of uncontrolled blade look.
I remember me and my friends spent a while trying to find this one crystal, and it was a black unstable crystal. And I can't remember where exactly it was. It was up somewhere really high because you had to use your Force jumps like pretty accurately to get there. And once we got it and you lit that thing up, I was like, holy shit. Like, it was badass looking.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was one of the games that I 100%ed, because there was a time in my life where I was a full-on achievement whore. I mean, these days my gamer score I think is only at 140,000, but I mean, it became a competition between me and my friends. I mean, we'd do boosting, we'd fucking fire up stupid ass games like Riddick and do multiplayer and be like, all right, you come up, punch me in the face 10 times, and then I'll punch you in the face 10 times. So yeah, I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about. Go and look for all the crystals to make your blade look trippy, because it almost looked like a black hole lightsaber.
Yeah,
where light was almost bending in on itself to form the black blade. So it was a great game, but like I said, it's everything about it now is bullshit. It's been scrapped. Starkiller doesn't exist. What him and Vader were trying to do doesn't exist. Him working for the rebellion doesn't exist. So it loses a bit of its, I think, power in terms of the narrative it told back in 2008. So
yeah.
Before we move on to if we can even find any shitty ones, because I'm still kind of struggling, I want to just throw out an honorable mention or two, just random stuff. In this one, I don't even know if you ever heard it, but Star Wars Super Bombad Racing for the PS2.
No, I didn't even know that was a game.
Pretty good, people. Pretty good. I mean, it's essentially the Mario Kart of Star Wars racers.
That's pretty awesome.
It's kind of cartoony. The characters are essentially just big heads in their little vehicles. They have, powers, courses. But it wasn't a perfect racing game. Definitely not as tight as Mario Kart, but a very fun Star Wars version of Mario Kart. So I'll throw that out there. And obviously, I agree with all of Nick's choices. I would have thrown them in my list if he didn't get them. Knights of the Old Republic may be my favorite of all time, just because of the things we discussed. Most of all the Lego Star Wars games, including the one that just came out this week. And then the classics, the NES ones, I'll be honest, they fucking blow. I mean, they're not good. They're too fucking hard. They're very frustrating. The Super Star Wars, Super Empire, and Super Jedi on the Super Nintendo, those are all pretty fun little action platformer takes on the franchise. And then, the PC stuff we talked about earlier. Even some weird stuff like Republic Commando was kind of different.
I was going to say Republic Commando and Dark Forces, both are really good games.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's a ton of shit out there, people. I don't know, Nick, do you want to try to figure out a shitty one?
I'm trying to think right now. I guess I should, let me try to open up my Steam, and see if I can find anything. But
I'm looking at Wikipedia, and I think the only ones I could potentially say kind of sucked were the prequel era ones, and that's really just a byproduct of them being prequel era games.
yeah, they're just
Like the
prequels
Phantom
from-
Menace game or Episode 1 Obi-Wan was kind of janky. Clone Wars was janky. I mean, I guess I'll lump those in there. So there you go. Those are my shits. Any of the prequel movie games based on the movie. Fuck them.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, because I can remember like one of my friends was a really big fan of the Episode 3 game, and he's like, "Oh, dude, like it has like alternate endings to it and stuff like
it's
that."
fucking
And
bunk.
I was like, "Man, dude, I played it, and I was like, the gameplay isn't even good." And then like the alternate endings he were talking about garbage. I was like, "Man, like I don't agree." So I mean, I guess like I can remember playing the Pod Racer game and not being that impressed with it. Like I didn't think it was incredible by any stretch of the imagination.
Right.
But I mean, it was decent. It was probably like out of the prequel era games, it was probably the best because it wasn't anything special. It was just like a first-person racing game. So I mean, but yeah. I don't. There weren't too many terrible ones out there, but I will say this: that like you can see when they hit their stride. Like you said, the NES games were way too hard, and I think that had something to do with like game development still.
Oh
being
yeah, I
in
mean
its
it
infancy.
was a product of the time, man. I mean, it was
Yeah.
just, how you gonna make a great Star Wars game on an 8-bit fucking console? It's just not happening.
Yeah, and then like they hit their stride right around that like late PS2, early PS3 period, because that's when you had a lot of the incredible games. Like you had the Knights of the Old Republic games, you had the Battlefront games. You had the like early PS3 kind of era was when the first Star Wars Force Unleashed came out. So like that's really when they hit their stride, and like it was an incredible time period if you were a Star Wars fan. And then we had like the dark ages where we didn't have fucking Star Wars games come out for I don't know how long. It had been a while before we got a legitimate good Star Wars game.
No doubt. I want to go play some fucking Star Wars games after talking about them.
I know,
So
right?
long,
I'm looking at all the ones in my Steam. I was like, I can install this.
Oh, dude, I did the same shit. I'm like, you know you'll never fucking play them, dude, so just turn off the client and move on with your day.
Yeah.
It
Dude, I
ain't gonna
remember,
happen.
did you download the Knights of the Old Republic when it released for phones?
I did not, because I'd already purchased it multiple times, but I'm sure one of these days, if I'm maybe drinking too much at night and I'm bored, I might grab it.
Yeah, I think I got it for like $1.99 on sale or something like that. I don't regret it, even though I'll probably never play it all the way through. I don't regret having it.
No, yeah, why not? I mean, if you really want to get into great mobile Star Wars games, I play 2 every single day, multiple times a day. Fucking Star Wars, what the fuck is it?
Galaxy of Heroes, I know.
Oh,
is one,
that's
yeah.
definitely my cracky one, and then Star Wars Commander, the essentially Clash of Clans ripoff.
Yeah, I played Commander for a while, and then I have Galaxy of Heroes on my phone too. I fire it up every now and then. Good stuff.
All right, so I mean, before we wrap, just a few basic notes here, some housekeeping on Star Wars news this week. If you go to entertainmentboot.com, I got most of these posts out here, but really the big one was, I think, Wednesday. Daisy Ridley, who plays Rey, posted a video of her working out, and she was wearing a pillowcase on her head, so she had to explain why she was wearing a pillowcase on her head. And apparently, you know, I actually believe a lot of the main characters wrapped yesterday or today. They're wrapping filming, because I'll mention what Rayan was sending out. So anyway, she's filming scenes on Wednesday, and in between setups, and if you've ever been on a Hollywood set, which I have, they're the most boring fucking things ever, because literally you sit around all day long, 10, 15 hours in between shots as they get set up. So they're setting up a shot, and she's like, oh, fuck, I'm going to go work out. But I guess her hair was done up in a way that Disney didn't want the public to see her. So she wrapped her head in a pillowcase and then filmed her little workout montage video and shared it. And she specifically said, I am wearing a pillowcase because of my hairdo. So, of course, people like me, we post it, we run it as this big important news, and it did well for the site. But who gives a shit, really, in the end? I mean, it's a fucking hairstyle. Do you think it's in buns or something? Is that why they're so protective?
Somebody, I read a lot of comments and shit like that on different articles, like, oh my god, she's got her hair in Leia buns or something like that. But, I mean, I'm not even 100% sure. Like, I looked at the video, I watched it a couple of times, and I was like, at first I was like, let me see if I could try to make out what the hairstyle is, and then I was like, that's fucking insane. Like, you can't see anything. So I'm not sure. Clearly, it's not the same way that she was wearing it in episode 7, which was like, I guess you would call it like the double ponytail kind of look coming off the back. It was like, I'm not sure.
It was literally like how they braid horse manes sometimes. Where it was like, yeah, whatever. I have no hair anyways. I don't know what the fuck they'd call that style.
Yeah, like I'm not a hair person. I don't know what it's called.
From what I saw, I could see it kind of looking potentially, not Leia in Jedi, maybe Leia in Empire.
Okay.
Leia Jedi when she's a Rebel Commando.
Where she's got like the braids
the braid
across
around
the top
her head.
of her head.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, that would be kind of cool, and it like I don't want to jump into like crazy speculation, but like if she's got her hair dressed like that, they could like it could be like this is how my aunt or whoever used to wear her hair, or my mom or something like that. I don't know.
And then the only other thing, Rian Johnson, the director, he's been tweeting out pictures left and right. One was of the Jark board on the Falcon. Another one was a kind of a wall texture. I still believe it's from the interior of the Falcon. And then the other one was the call sheet, and it said call sheet 100, and he had a smiley face and the zeros on the 100. So I don't know if that meant that they're almost done. It was at the last day of filming, or they're getting very close. But from what I've heard, just saw on social media, I believe Boyega wrapped yesterday. I think Hamill wraps today. So I'm assuming that the main principal photography for episode 8 is about in the books.
Yeah,
and they're going to move on to post at this point. So that's good. I mean, they got through the summer shooting. Nothing major leaked. I mean, yeah, sure, we could say some stuff leaked, but we don't know if it's legit or not. So it seems like everything is on track for the December 15th, 2017 release.
Yeah, I mean, you figure they got 17 months for posts, and then whatever else they got to do. If they got pickups they need to do, I'm sure they have time for that as well. So I'm pretty excited. I mean, you're wrapping up principal photography, and then obviously you have Rogue One that's right around the corner. No new news on that yet, but like you said in the beginning of the cast, we got the 3-minute trailer dropping on the 15th, and we'll definitely be all over that.
Yeah, so that is our plan for the next cast, my friend. We'll be talking about the trailer. Who knows if we'll be able to do it live. I'm assuming we'll see it sometime next Friday during the day. I don't think it's going to remain under lock and key until ABC can show it on TV. It's going to make its way out, so that's what we're planning for. We're going to dissect it, talk about it, speculate on it like we always do on the Entertainment Buddha Star Wars cast. All right, people, may the Force be with you always.